And welcome back, everybody. This is the third episode here of our season 3 reboot of the Dots podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. In our last episode, we kind of broke down the recap of week one games and as well as through the injuries. We talked about our breakout players, our special players of this past week. And now it is time for us to get into our top 10s and the weekly pick'ems that we have for you guys today. We're going to try to keep this episode on the shorter side, but still provide a bit of entertainment for the folks here on the home sideline. It's your boy, Golf 99 Brett's Brendini here in Stevens Point.
And not moving from my last episode, on the away sideline in my floor of my room again. Well, I already broke my promise not being in a new place in each episode. Matt Crowley, aka your boy Matty Icy, coming back with another episode of Down on the Sidelines. Obviously, if you guys are enjoying what you're seeing, obviously click the like button, subscribe button, turn on notification bells. Obviously, go check out our socials on Instagram and TikTok. Instagram Down on the Sidelines podcast, and then TikTok is dotspod. But with that being said,
Another thing too. Sorry to interrupt you. We plan on. I know some people were asking us about guests throughout this season and everything. We do plan on getting guests back on our show again. So it'll be exciting to have another view as well as just providing more entertainment for the folks and just getting that content out there. So go ahead, man.
yeah, but without being said, I mean, the most highly anticipated segments and our personal favorite, our own personal top tens. So, I know we have done 1 to 10, 10 to 1. You go first, I go. And then we just reveal each list. How do we want to do it this season?
Let's go from 10 to 1 and we'll do one at a time each.
Okay.
So we'll start with your 10 or my 10 and then do the other person's 10.
Alright. Without further ado, listeners, here's our top 10s on the Dots Pod. So, who you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
First, why not? All right. So, guys, coming in at my number 10, I put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the number 10 team in the NFL. They looked really good. Compared to all the other teams that we are seeing, especially going into this season, Tampa Bay, they're not going to be as good as these other teams, but they provided a lot of promise in week one in that win over the Commanders in that 37-20 win. Talked about Baker Mayfield in the last episode. He played really well. Rachaad White played really well. Same for Mike Evans, who, I mean, every single year he's so consistent. Chris Godwin as well. And even the Buccaneers defense did a pretty solid job, even though I just noticed that Jaden Daniels, he was named as the rookie of the week this week, which is a little bit of a surprise to me because he didn't even have a touchdown pass, but he did have two rushing touchdowns. He ran two in it, but I think Tampa Bay, they look really promising. And another thing too is with their defense, they got guys like Jordan Whitehead, Antoine Winfield Jr., Levante David, Jamel Dean, Vita Vea. I mean, all those guys, they really made names for themselves in the year when they won the Super Bowl. So Tampa Bay, they are a very solid option, and I really like what I'm seeing out of these Buccaneers, and I think they're a very solid team to put in the number 10.
Respectable, I mean. But coming
Let's see what you got.
In my number 10 spot, maybe if it will let me. Oh gosh, come on. Difficulties.
Otherwise, I'll unveil them for you.
I have the New Orleans
unveil it.
Saints. Now, granted, they're number 10 because they did play the Carolina Panthers. I don't have high hopes for the Saints But they did put up the most points in week 1 with 47. So it's kind of hard to overlook that fact, even though, like I said, they did play the Panthers. The Panthers are not very good. The Saints were still able to put up 47 points on them, which I don't care who you are, these are professional athletes. That's very hard to do. Derek Carr had a good game. Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams all had a great game. I mean, maybe this could be the turnback season for Derek Carr. I don't know. We just have to wait and see. I'm not getting my hopes up high, hence why I have them at 10 because I don't have high hopes from. Expect them to either drop out of my top 10 or stay here because this is probably as high as they're going to get this whole season unless they go undefeated somehow.
It would be really interesting to like see like our top tens from every single week and then like compare it from week one to what it becomes like at the very end of the regular season. I think that'd be a fun thing that we can do, but
Maybe find that
that's
one on
solid.
TikTok.
I mean, maybe, just maybe
Yeah,
could
so we gotta
could
get back on
be
the TikTok.
teasing something. Yeah, we definitely do. But I like what you're doing with them. They ended up playing very solid. And like yeah, it was against the Panthers, but I agree with you. Like even though they're the Panthers, it's still professional football. Same type of level. When you put up that many points, you're gonna be looking good. Coming in at my number 9, I got the Indianapolis Colts. Um the Colts to me, I was expecting a very close game this past week between them and the Texans, and that is exactly what had happened. I thought the Colts were going to win in that game, but they weren't able to get it done, and now they have Green Bay coming up this week and a Jordan Loveless Green Bay Packer team, so the Colts can really take advantage, and their defense has always been solid, except for there were just a couple of plays where they just gave up some big plays over there against the Texans. But Anthony Richardson, if he can get a little more accurate with his passes, we saw one pass he hit though, where he threw the ball about 65 yards of airtime, and it was a dot, and I think it was to Alec
It was to
Pierce
Alex
or
Pierce, and he
something like
also did
that.
slip on it. He slipped. He just hooked it up.
Yeah, and it was a bomb of a throw from Richardson. So if we see more of that stuff from Anthony Richardson, don't be surprised if this Colts team goes up in that statistic. And same with, I was a little bit surprised too how Jonathan Taylor didn't really have much production at all in this game against the Texans. He only had 48 rushing yards. He did have the touchdown, but it was mainly all Anthony Richardson getting it done. So if we see more from the Colts with accurate passes from Anthony Richardson, because he only went 9 for 19, and then we see Jonathan Taylor get more carries, and I expect that to happen against the Packers because Saquon Barkley ran all over Green Bay last week. So don't be surprised if we see that, and don't be surprised if we see this Indianapolis Colts team go up more in these rankings and keep up with the Texans as maybe that number one team in the AFC South.
Valid. I do like that. Now at mine, might be a little bias. I have my Vikings. Now, same thing with the Saints. They did play a very bad Giants team. A horrendous Giants team. Obviously, as I said in the last episode, that they did get off to a shaky start. CJ Ham fumbles the ball. They only let up 6 points. Considering that Giants were in the red zone twice and they both stopped. The Giants were in the red zone multiple times. One resulted in interceptions and two resulted in field goals. And a missed field goal. So the defense, Brian Flores, I really do like him. He's been doing a good job. Sam Darnold played something that Sam Darnold wouldn't have done. Aaron Jones, welcome to the team, had a good preview of what can be ahead for him in this season. But yeah, like same thing with the Saints. They played a very bad Giants team. Now they go and play San Francisco at home, so that's going to be a true test to see how this Vikings team can actually stack up. I don't really expect the Vikings to win that game, but there's still a possibility. I mean, they beat them 1-5 last year. But yeah, my ninth spot, I have the Vikings.
I'm curious to see what teams you would have had behind the Vikings here because
I might just
I wouldn't
completely.
have gone that high with the Minnesota Vikings. Like it was nice how they played, but I don't think it's that level of putting them in the top 10. But you do you, sir.
Hmm.
Coming in at my number 8 on the list, I got the LA Rams, and these are like, whoa, Bryce, you got two 0-1 teams in your top 10. Like, what's going on here? Think about the level of competition that they ended up going up against. Just think about that for a second. Um, the Rams against the Lions, it was such a great game. And they even lost Puka Nakua. And somehow they looked better without Puka Nakua playing out on the field against the Lions. The only thing that the Rams really need to clean up is their defense. And it it's going to take a lot of time for them to get over losing Aaron Donald because, like, let's face it, he may have been the greatest defensive player of all time, not just in our generation, of all time. So it's going to take the Rams quite a bit of time, and they're very young on defense to really gather themselves and find out who they are. But their offensive identity is amazing. Sean McVay, amazing head coach to this team. Don't be surprised if the Rams can keep up with the 49ers, just like how the Colts can keep up with the Texans to end up winning their division. I think the Rams at number 8, pretty solid spot.
And speaking about the AFC South, I have the Texans coming in. It was like you said, like you have the Colts at 9, which you'll kind of see it was kind of mindless compared to yours. But I always think that week 1 it will always be the trickiest week because I mean records don't really mean a lot of things, but it could just be a fluke or something. But the Texans, they did pull through the end, and I can tell you this right now: the Texans do look good. Joe Mixon looks really good. Stephon Diggs had, I think he had 13 yards through the air, but he had 2 touchdowns, so already making his presence known in the red zone. Texans, I still think they're gonna pick up right where they left off, and I do think C.J. Stroud could be a very dark horse MVP. But yeah, at 8, I have the Houston Texans.
CJ Stroud, definitely a dark horse candidate for MVP. I think I said he was my MVP guy going into
I think you did, yeah.
this season. Just looking at the stats, yeah, Stephon Diggs. I think you might have said 13 yards, 33. You might have said
33.
33 though.
I said 33.
And the 2 touchdowns. So just a clarification to the folks, but I respect that. For how the teams ended up playing against each other, and to what you're saying, like week 1, you typically don't see like the true identity of the team and all of that. Like that's fair. Coming in at my number 7, another 0-1 team in the program. 3 out of my 4 teams I've revealed so far have lost. But the Ravens, I think they kept up with the Chiefs. I didn't get to watch much of this game, but I did see the highlights. And if Isaiah Likely is truly how he was in this game for this year, they have a dangerous 1-2 combo of tight ends. And Lamar Jackson, he will always be a run pass option threat out there, mainly to run it. And then same with Derrick Henry. We've already heard from Coach John Harbaugh that we're not going to be seeing Derrick Henry run the ball like 30 times a game. He'll get probably 10 to 15 carries every game or something like that. But to have a power running back behind Lamar Jackson, it pays huge dividends. the Ravens defense, I'm not too worried about, even though they gave up some pretty easy scores to the Chiefs. But here's the thing: Chiefs, they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They're playing at Arrowhead, such a tough environment to play in, and they almost won this game. They lost by the toe. We've talked about it before, and it was also rare to see Justin Tucker miss one field goal in this game. Uh, so that was also another crucial factor because if he made that and then the toe was in for likely, they wouldn't even had to go for two or anything. Baltimore would have just won the game. So Baltimore, I think they're still going to be promising over there in the North. And what's crazy is there's only one team in the AFC North that has a win. It's the
And
Steelers.
they didn't score a touchdown.
Take it away.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, they didn't even score a touchdown. Coming at my number 7, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, like I said, they barely just escape in Sao Paulo, or however you say it. I don't really speak Spanish. But Saquon looks amazing. Jalen Hurts had a really rocky start. 2 picks, 2 interceptions, as we all know. I mean, just kind of like the field. I think a lot of it does have to do with the field that they are this low. But I don't know. Saquon looks really good, but they just barely escaped the Packers. I think they did get lucky that Jordan Love was not in for those final 3 plays. But I do like where they are. The defense was good with Blankenship. Blankenship. I'm blanking on their other safety.
Um,
It's Darius Slay's
there,
always
no,
good.
it's CJ Gardner
Oh
Johnson.
yeah, CJ. Yep, he's back with the team. But yeah, like they look impressive. I'm not even gonna lie. And Saquon and Hurts is going to be a very deadly duo, kind of like you said with Lamar and Henry. Is going to be a scary duo.
Um, I like the spot where you're putting Philadelphia here because I have the Eagles as my 6. It was rocky start for them to back you up on that. So, but they really cleaned things up in the second half of this game. It seemed like they started figuring out their offense and everything. Saquon Barkley ended up just becoming an absolute monster on the soccer pitch against the Packers. And how about their defense though? Zach Bond, I seriously think this guy could have been the defensive player of the week, and he almost deserved every right to get that award because he ended up having 11 tackles and 4 assists, so he had a total of 15 tackles. I think he had one sack in this game as well. So he looked really good out there on defense. And Philadelphia, they have the key pieces to be able to keep picking things up in terms of wins. I mean, when you have Jalen Hurts and you have Saquon Barkley, especially with Saquon Barkley, and then you have a guy like AJ Brown who's just a monster of a wide receiver to face up against. And I thought Bullard did a great job with the Packers covering him. He actually knocked him down on
Mm-hmm.
one of the plays and took him out of the game. And Javon Bullard, he is not that big of a dude. He was just able to get a good hit out there on him. So exciting things for Packers defense, but we're talking about the Eagles here. AJ Brown, he's great. Devonta Smith, he ended up showing up pretty nicely on a few plays in this game. And Philadelphia, they're going to remain as a Super Bowl contender throughout this entire year. It's going to be rare to see this team fall off on this list of top tens.
Yeah, and with mine, I have my own Buffalo Bills at 6. Was it a rocky start? I think I've said that for maybe all of these teams so far. Rocky start, yeah. But the Bills, I don't think you can count them out. I mean, they did play the Cardinals, and Josh Allen basically took over. And like I say, he is my MVP candidate for this year's awards. And I didn't get to see a lot much of this game, but I do know the Bills did come back and they won it. So that's really, from what I saw, just the comeback ability being there, having the vets there, and being able to do it is good. So I have the Bills at 6.
Yeah, it's important to be behind in a game and be able to come back and win because that can show that your team has that fight in them and that they just have the abilities to do all that. But Josh Allen, he might actually be what the media is saying he is. I still won't say that yet, but there's promise. Coming in at my number five, I got the one and the only Dallas Cowboys coming off of a really impressive win over the Browns, but Deshaun Watson looked horrible. But Micah Parsons might have been the reason that made him look horrible. Micah Parsons played tremendously. I think he had a couple of sacks in the game from what I remember. And Dallas, like, to go into Cleveland and just like steamroll them, it was impressive. A 33-17 victory. Dak Prescott, he didn't have the numbers that we'd expected him to typically have, but this was more so the Cowboys defense and special teams really showing who they have been over the last couple of years. So I don't think Dallas has really fallen off or on anything like that with their offense. I think it's just they're trying to figure out who they are against what was supposed to be a top Cleveland Browns defense, but they were able to. I mean, they only got two offensive touchdowns off of them, but nonetheless, Dallas ended up looking really good. And the competition between Philadelphia and Dallas, it's going to be really good throughout this season. So looking forward to it. Dallas in my number five.
I mean, I don't know how else you could say. You put it perfectly. Dallas is my number five as well. Literally right before the game, Dak Prescott did sign a new contract extension for 4 years, $243 million, I do believe. So he got paid. CD Lamb got paid. I think something that went very unnoticed. I don't know if you did watch this game or not. This was also Tom Brady's first broadcast game. Brandon Aubrey attempted a 66-yard field goal, and he made it. He
Made it.
absolutely crushed it. And obviously, we all know Justin Tucker made it, hit the crossbar, and it went in. Aubrey could have had a good 5 yards. It didn't count because the Cowboys they got a delay game. So he actually went out there to try and attempt a 71-yard field goal. Which, if
Didn't
you,
they take him out or
yeah,
something?
they decided just to throw it up for a Hail Mary
Nah, come
almost.
on.
I know, we were all dying to see that. But yeah,
So
so
yeah,
the Cowboys, I think what you said was really good. Micah is going to do what Micah does. CD Lamb wasn't really a big factor, but it was that defense with Mike Zimmer, who was their new defensive coordinator. And like I said, Deshaun Watson just looked so bad. He looked horrible. But yeah,
yeah. Deshaun, I'll say this: Deshaun Watson in this game, he got sacked like every 6 times or something like that.
it was
It
something
was
ridiculous.
bad.
But yeah, that's my number five is the Dallas Cowboys.
Solid. Great minds think alike, sir. But on this one, we do not think alike. My number four, I have the Houston Texans. It's to me, it's mainly because of the pieces that they were able to pick up and the acquisitions that they were able to get here. So especially Stephon Diggs, he was a huge piece. He had 2 touchdowns in the game, as you mentioned. And then you also have guys like Joe Mixon who are out there that they just picked up. And Joe Mixon, he had a monster game against the Colts defense. So it it's honestly not surprising to see that he had a monster game, and he's probably glad that he's out of Cincinnati, especially with the situation that's going on in Cincinnati right now. I mean, lots of drama, just things that you don't really want to be involved in. And now he is a part of a culture that is like, okay, we can win these games and we are going to be a great football team. And all we have to do is play by our true identity. And I'm trying to find out the yardage he had.
He
Joe
had
Mixon had 30
126.
carries for 159 yards.
Never mind.
He's probably leading the league
He
in
is leading the league.
rushing
rushing.
then. So to have that, then Nico Collins as well. You got Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell as your three big wide receivers as CJ Stroud. Like CJ Stroud played solid. He only had 8 incompletions, didn't have as many passing yards as I would have thought. But to go into Indianapolis and get a win like that, it was great back and forth game. But to get a win like that against this Colts team that is just super excited about the upcoming year, it was a really impressive win from the Texans. And this team is going to stay impressive if they stay healthy throughout the year. And then my number 4, Houston Texans.
Well, my number 4, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker
Oh,
went off. I mean, like you said, Baker, I was like pointing on my his tail. I was like, that's highly disrespectful. 4 touchdowns. I mean, the offense is electric. Baker's picking up right where he left off. I might have a little bit more concerns for the defense. I mean, they did. Seems like maybe rushing quarterbacks are is a weakness in that defense. I mean, you lose Devin White to retirement, so that's going to be a big thing. He's one of your core linebackers. Antoine Winfield Jr., he's signed his contract in the offseason to keep with the Buccaneers. So they still have a lot of those core players. Baker got paid. Mike Evans got paid. Basically, they were in it together from what the sounds like. It's like, oh, if you sign Baker, I'm staying, so make your choice. So, yeah, but Tampa looked really good on Sunday against the Commanders, which I think Commanders will get better as the year goes on. But yeah, I got the Bucks.
that's a pretty ballsy spot to put Tampa Bay in, but honestly, I kind of respect it. Um, with how good they ended up playing, it's pretty solid. But not sure if it's the number I would have gone. Coming in at my number 3 though, I have the Detroit Lions. I think it's safe to say our 1, 2, and 3 are going to be the same teams. Maybe just flipped around a little bit. Detroit without here's the thing. Amonra barely did anything in this game. And it essentially just became the Lions defense and then towards the end of the game and then their running backs and David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs barely did anything in this game either, and yet they looked impressive. So it's just weird to say that the team looked really good. Jamison Williams put on a show. Like he kind of came out of nowhere in this game against the Rams. To be fair though, the Rams defense is very young, so that might be a key reason of why they were getting ran over so much. But Jared Goff, he looked solid. The one pick he threw was a pass to Amonra, and the defensive back was just able to beat him on the route faster than Amonra was able to get there. So it's not really Jared Goff's fault on his pick. And the Lions, they have a lot of hype coming through them. And Dan Campbell in that Applebee's commercial, man, that goes hard. It's so good. And him as the coach of this team, I just love the decisions and plays that he goes for. And Detroit is going to be just one of those teams that is going to be hard to take down by any team this entire year. Detroit in at my number 3.
Well, I have Detroit as well as my 3. So great minds think alike, as you said. But this is going to be the Jamison Williams breakout year. I think he had 5 receptions or 3 receptions, as you said, for like 122 yards and 5 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown, which, like I said, this is going to be good. They have a lot of weapons on offense, like you were saying. Don't forget the tight end Sam Laporta. He had 3 catches for 34 or 43 yards, somewhere around there. It was, can't remember, but I should probably know.
It
But
was to back you up. I gotta back you up here on it. It was 45 yards, 4 for
Okay,
45.
close enough. But anyways, the Lions have all the weapons. They've been to the playoffs. They've been to the divisional, the not divisional, the championship game. So now they have a super high ceiling. They know where they can be at. And like I said, I love Dan Campbell. I love his calling. Defense, Aiden Hutchinson is still holding up. Defense is still holding up and is getting the job done. I mean, you got a two-headed monster in the backfield, David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. Even though David Montgomery took the show over, but still very good job by the Lions with the win in overtime. But they are still one of the best teams in the league, so I have them at 3.
I like it. I like it. All right, coming in at my number 2, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. My 1 and 2, you could flip them around, pretty much whenever, wherever. Like it doesn't matter. They could be 1 or 2 every time. But the Chiefs, the only reason I have them in at my 2 is they didn't play as good. They didn't play as good as the team I'm gonna have in my number 1. They still looked very solid. And let me tell you this, Xavier Worthy, he could be the next Tyreek Hill on this team. And I think Patrick Mahomes absolutely loves him already. I mean, Xavier Worthy acquitted for 2 of their touchdowns in this game against the Ravens. So, and to go up against the Ravens defense, which is pretty solid. Um, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, even though I think he may have got injured at
Kyle
some
Van
point.
Noy did.
And Kyle Van Noy. Yeah, Kyle Van Noy being another one. So 2 Kyles they got, but with him being injured and all that. Like Kansas City, they have the weapons. They just do. Pacheco, he's always gonna be running it well with the team. Well, just I think Travis Kelce though, he's gonna be a little bit less of an impact this year. He's still gonna be good. I don't think he's going to be as good. Kind of what we saw here in week 1. So Kansas City and my number 2 to be back-to-back Super Bowl champions. It's almost impossible to do, and they got a shot of doing it 3 times, and they could be really good. They can.
Mm-hmm. And at my number 2, like you said, these 3 teams can be interchangeable. I have the 49ers. Very solid performance. CMC, I do think, plays a big part into why they're at 2. Because I honestly believe if CMC played against Jets, he goes for over 150 yards and maybe 3 touchdowns. But none of the least, the 49ers did look very good. They're still picking up right where they are. The reason that they're able to pay all Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Fred Warner, and everyone else is because Brock Purdy is still on his rookie contract, which only pays him $1 million. So they're in a very fortunate situation right now, but when Brock wants to get paid, he's going to want money. Or we don't know, maybe he'll just take $5 million. But yeah, the 49ers, defense looks good, offense looks electric, even without McCaffrey. They're at my number 2 spot.
And I mean, with Brock Purdy, he seems to be pretty content with what he has, but I'm sure he'll want more money. But he's got those deals going with John Deere. He's probably making more money off John Deere than he is as a quarterback.
You're not wrong, yeah.
But I got the 49ers at my number 1. It's safe to say that this team looked really good against the Jets. The Jets were supposed to be one of the best defenses this year, and the 49ers just ran all over them. And it's not that they just ran over him. Jordan Mason, he was a huge factor, and they could have found their next big-time running back, which is crazy because they just go through this train of running through great running backs. But Mason, he had 28 carries for 147 and a touchdown. I mean, that's prime time there. And then you compare that to in fantasy football, what people were saying would be the number 2 or 3 pick in Breece Hall. He had 16 carries for 54 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble in the game. Like, And the 49ers defense, they're always just going to be out there causing problems to any offense. It does not matter who it is. Like you were bringing up some names. Fred Warner wasn't one of them. Tre'Davious Ward being another guy. I think Isaac Yiadicom, he's another um, pretty good name for San Francisco. Nick Bosa, he barely did anything in this game against the Jets, but he's still going to be one that causes problems. And then same with Leonard Floyd. I mean, he barely did anything, but Jake Moody, they're set on their kicker. Let me tell you that
Mm-hmm.
he was impressive. If Brock Purdy can just be a little bit better with his decisions throwing the ball, this team is going to be almost impossible to stop. And just imagine when they get Christian McCaffrey back, where they have Mason and McCaffrey in their backfield with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle as your tight end. I think George Kittle, he's going to be just about as good this year as he has been the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it's safe to say San Francisco is looking like the best team right now going against the Vikings this coming week.
Yeah. I mean, my number one, I have the Chiefs. I mean, I don't really know anything to put that they played one of the best teams in the AFC, which is the Ravens, and they just half a shoe size won. But nonetheless, they are the defending Super Bowl champions. They really didn't lose anyone besides L'Jarius Sneed, and they still locked down the Ravens wide receivers, not tight ends, wide receiver core. And they just kept on adding. They just kept on adding over this offseason. It clearly did pay out. I mean, like you said, Travis Kelce, this will probably be his last year, and then he'll probably retire. I honestly think that. But he's going to take a decrease in the offense. And like I said, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, I mean, they're just, this is the Chiefs' dynasty. This is their dynasty, the first team looking to three-peat.
Yeah, it's truly impressive what the Chiefs and 49ers are doing with their football teams. Like, it leaves people questioning, like, how is it even possible? Like, how is this happening? But one thing I want to say, too, looking at our lists, and I know you just said Baltimore is one of the best teams in the AFC. You only have 3 AFC teams in your top 10, and I only have 4 AFC teams in my top 10, which maybe does this show that the NFC is a better conference than the AFC? Who knows?
Only time will tell. Like we said, it's only week one. You can't really find a team's true identity until, like, I like to say week 5.
Week 4 or 5. Yeah, week 4 or 5, hands down. That's when you figure out who they are. But those are our top tens. Let us know what you think of these top tens. Pretty consistent with the top 3. And then the middle of the list is a little different. There's a few teams that we have that are quite different, though, from one another. So our top tens. On to our last order of business, though. It will be the pick'ems. And today it's Thursday. So that means Thursday night football going up tonight. Hopefully we can somehow get this episode up by that game time.
It might be. I don't know how 2 episodes would go, but
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But the first matchup, Thursday night football. Matt, I know who you're going for. It's the Bills up against the Dolphins in Miami for the first Thursday night game on Amazon Prime.
yes, and I'm taking my Bills. I will take my Bills. Can you type them out, please? Because my camera.
I got you.
For those who don't know, my camera's at the bottom of my computer, which makes it very, very weird. Yeah, what Brenden
Makes it look like this.
Yeah, so you get to see me.
Makes it look like the creepy crawlies going on. For me, I'm gonna take the Dolphins in this game. I think they're gonna move on from that drama, and Miami is gonna take it.
It is played in Miami. Next, we get the Niners at my Vikings. For how impressive my Vikings played against the Giants. This is where they bite the dust, and they're going to lose to San Fran.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. San Francisco, I, the one thing that the Vikings have for them is they're going into Minnesota.
They are home. That's the
Uh,
one good thing.
so it's going to be electric there, but I think Sam Darnold is going to realize
Sam
how good
Darnold.
San Francisco defense actually is. Give me the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Seahawks at Patriots. The Patriots did pull an upset against the Bengals, but they're still not good. Give me Seattle.
You know what? I'm going to throw a surprise out here, and I'm going to take the Patriots over the Seahawks. Seattle, what was impressive with them was, I don't know if you knew this, but they had two safeties against the Broncos in the first half.
Hmm.
Two safeties. Like, you don't see that. You barely see a safety happen, and to see two in a game from the same team, it's impressive. But the Patriots, hey, they're playing in New England against Seattle. Super Bowl 49 rematch. Patriots winning. Same outcome.
All right, Giants at the Commanders. I think we all know what this atrocity of a franchise is going to do to this
What
dog
did you
crap
just say?
franchise. Give me the Commanders.
I want to know what you said.
This
You said like
catastrophic.
atrocity.
Yeah,
You said like
atrocity.
atrocity or something.
Atrocity.
And I'm like, that's not even a word.
Well, I made it. That's your word of the day. Atrocity. I
Atrocity.
don't know.
Okay, what's the definition?
Very, very bad.
Atrocity. Very, very bad. I picked the Commanders in a atrocity of a game.
Next, we have the Chargers at the Panthers. Oh god, if the Panthers play like anything they did last week, it's going to be an atrocity of a game for them.
Good.
I'm gonna pick the Chargers. Chargers did look very impressive in there when J.K. got Dobbins did look very good.
J.K. Dobbins looked really good. I'm taking the Chargers as well over the Panthers. Let me look up this word while you go over the next matchup.
All right, next we got the Saints at the Cowboys. Saints point number one offense in the league right now, even though it's been 1 week. Against the Cowboys, it's at Jerry's World, as Brenden would like to say it. But I am going to take the Cowboys because I know deep down that the Saints are not that good. They have Derek Carr as their quarterback. We just need to chill down for a little bit.
Yeah, in this matchup too, I would go in the same type of route. I'm picking the Cowboys as well over the Saints. I mean, the Cowboys in the regular season just for some reason they played really good, and this is gonna be the opener in Jerry World. So getting that for Dallas, it's going to help them tremendously, and I wouldn't be surprised if CeeDee Lamb has like 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah. Now we have the Colts at the Packers. And the one thing I will say this is ultimately going to come down to is quarterback play. And I don't trust Malik Willis to date my daughter if I did have a daughter. So I'm going to take the Colts.
Dang, shots fired at Malik Willis. Jeez. Um, I really do want to pick Green Bay just because it's at Lambeau. But here's the thing: when the Packers are without their main starting quarterback in games, their record has been so bad. Like I'm trying to an atrocity of a record. Um, yeah, you're definitely looking for the word atrocity.
Yeah,
Um,
atrocity.
but I gotta take the Colts over the Packers. It's just because of that statistic alone. I wish I had the numbers so I could tell you guys. Maybe I can find it.
No, but this will lead us to our next game, which is the Browns against the Jags, which I do think the Jaguars did win in last week's game. I don't know. Oh yeah, no, they lost. They played Miami. Never mind. But two 0-1 teams gave me the Jaguars because they're going to be better than the Browns.
You got the Jags.
Yes, sir.
In this one, the Browns headed into Jacksonville. I don't feel too high about either of these teams. I would say I have more faith in the Browns than the Jaguars. So for that reason alone, I'm gonna take the Browns.
All right, next we got the Jets at the Titans. Now we're saying that the Jets is supposed to have this top tier defense. Obviously, the Titans did lose to the Bears last week, but I'm gonna take Tennessee because in reality, the defense of Tennessee only let up 6 points to the Bears. I like the Titans better than I do with the Bears.
I'm I'm kind of surprised you picked Tennessee here. I'd go with the Lee Corso move here and say, not so fast, pal. You got the New York Jets, and it seemed like Aaron Rodgers, he seemed pretty comfortable against the 49ers. It's just that the coaching of the Jets wasn't there.
Or he
And
was
when the
playing the
Titans,
Jets and he was playing the Niners and he realized that he can never beat the Niners.
that meme, it's so good. It looks like it's from The Office. It's so true. But um, with the Titans against the Bears, though, the Bears team, their offense is so young, and like that's the reason why they looked good against them. Like Caleb Williams looked like absolute garbage. He truly did. So I'm taking the Jets over the Titans, though. This could be an interesting game, I will say. And for the Packers. So Green Bay's record without a starting quarterback since 20 2009. So since the Aaron Rodgers era began, Green Bay Packers are 37, 39, and 1 all time without their starter. And it's probably going to be 37, 40, and 1. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, next we have the Buccaneers at the Lions. I think these were my 3 and 4 going head to head. I'm gonna take the Lions just because it is in Detroit, and again with another playoff rematch.
Yeah, this is the rematch of the divisional round, which took place at the same stadium in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. So, I, to me, I'm taking the Lions as well. I think Amon-Ra is he's gonna show up and produce this week against Tampa Bay. But don't be surprised if this game is a one possession game like it was last year.
That's true. Next we got the Raiders at the Ravens. Raiders aren't very good. They've never been good. Ravens.
I'm taking the Ravens as well. No need to really talk about it. Now, the afternoon games, picking up with the Rams going up against the Arizona Cardinals.
Give me LA. I like them more than Arizona. I mean, we all see how Marvin Harrison Jr.'s debut went 1 catch for 4 yards. So, yeah.
Goes to show you can't trust rookie wide receivers when it comes to fantasy football. For week one, the only exception may have been Xavier Worthy. That was it.
Yeah, probably.
Next game though, I picked the Rams as well over the Cardinals. Next game though, we have the struggling Bengals heading in to Kansas City for an AFC Championship rematch from 2022.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs just because I know how the Bengals, ever since they really got Joe Burrow, they always start like 0-2, 0-3. And it's just going to be that continued pattern. Even though they are going into Burrowhead, they're not going to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are more prepared than they are right now. They're still dealing with all the
I
things
yeah,
they're still dealing with, like you said, all the drama with Jamar Chase. I mean, reportedly he got offered like 4 years, $140 million, and he turned it down. So, and they're just Chiefs are more prepared. They don't have anything going
Yeah,
on.
I agree with you on this 100%. And another thing that's concerning too is I don't know if you saw the clip of Joe Burrow. This is going everywhere.
Oh
Picking
yeah,
up a
he's like
water
rolling on his
bottle.
wrists or something like that.
eh,
Yeah. So is his wrist actually fully healthy?
And going into this season, I kept saying things. I think it was to you. I know I said it to Ben, because he's pretty high about Joe Burrow a lot. But I said something like, I don't know if he's fully healthy from this injury, and like to have a wrist injury on your throwing arm or your throwing hand or whatever, like that's gonna impact you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it just makes your mobility as a quarterback, especially to put a lot more velocity on those throws, a lot more difficult. And yeah, the Bengals just don't have the right things going for them. Another downside to their team was they didn't have T. Higgins last week against the Patriots.
They
So
really didn't have
not
any
having
wide
T.
receivers.
Higgins, yeah, the Bengals just didn't have much going for them. Kansas City, they have the momentum going their way. It's at Arrowhead, Burrowhead, which that name's starting to lose.
Its meaning very
It's
quickly.
it's mean. So give me the Chiefs.
Yeah. Next, we got the Steelers at the Broncos. Bo Nix had a shaky performance, but I think it's safe to say that all rookie quarterbacks did. But it's at Mile High. Bo Nix is growing on me because the Steelers have not scored a single touchdown at all this week. I mean, this year. So give me the Broncos.
This is a homecoming game for Russell Wilson
He
from the
will
last
probably
couple
not
of
be
years.
playing.
So yeah, he's not playing. It's already confirmed that Justin Fields will be the starter for this game
Good.
in week 2. This is going to be a very low production on offense type of game. I expect a lot of running to be done, a lot of struggle from these quarterbacks, but I do have higher hopes about Bo Nix over Justin Fields. I just do, and with it being at Mile High, I agree with you. I'm going to take the Broncos as well.
Now for our Sunday night game, Bears at the Texans. Just give me the Texans. I mean, this is probably one of the easier choices.
This is a lock. You got to lock in on the Texans here. Like, for those of you who are out there, like, are actually like betting around, stay responsible with it. But like, this is the lock of the week. It just has to be. I mean, going to Houston for Chicago, they looked really bad when they were playing at home this past week against the Titans. The Bears got lucky to win this game. Their defense and special teams saved them. And I guess Jack Sanborn, he's a very underrated defensive player there for Chicago. But the Texans, they're so good. They're so much better.
Yeah.
He's easy pick for Houston.
Now going to our last game, the Falcons at the Eagles. This should be the lock of the week because we all know how Kirk Cousins performs on Monday Night Football. So give me the Eagles.
He's playing with a new team though now, but I'm also taking the Eagles. The Eagles lineup is it's so good. I think they're really going to explode on offense against Atlanta. They might put up more points than they did against Green Bay. That's how good Philadelphia might be on Monday against the Falcons. So give me Philly in that one. Those are all of our picks for week 2 of the NFL. Already hard to believe that week 2 is about to begin. It
I
begins
know.
tonight, Thursday Night Football. What are you looking forward to in that one, Matt?
Forward for what? The football game?
Yeah, Thursday night game.
I just want to see my boy Josh Allen ball out.
I do want to see a lot of offense. I think this game's gonna have a lot of that offense shown uh, to anybody who's watching, and I'm hoping that the Dolphins can get out of that drama that's going on
Mm-hmm.
around with Tyreek Hill and Christian Wilkins and all of that. So it should be a fun one out there in Miami tonight at 7:15. So, but for us, that's all the content that we have for our podcast here on the Dots Podcast. I'm freaking hungry. I'd love to eat some lunch right now. So that's what I'm probably going to do. Maybe throw a pizza in the oven or something. So you guys are learning a little more about me and the foods that I eat, but everybody eats pizza. So, yeah, here on the away sideline, to send things away, it's your boy Brett Off 99 Brett's Brendini, Brenden Retzloff, here in Stevens Point.
On the true away sideline is your boy signing off, Matt Crawley, aka Matty Icy.
Away.
Yeah, you said the wrong sideline, but it's okay. We both came down to you came over and visited me, but
I'm just freaking hungry. I don't eat food. I'm
yeah,
starting to forget
Brendan's very
things.
hungry. So
I'm,
with
I'm aware.
with that being said, um, we'll see you next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bells on YouTube, and check down our socials down the Sidelines Podcast on Instagram and dotspod on TikTok.
Just remember, you are enough, folks. You guys are enough.